if you have any issues, just do this or something like that, and then text me or actually IM me, and then I'll let. Actually, how would I let you guys know? I could. All right, so you guys are live now, so I'm gonna disappear. So Peter, you are officially
The host.
yes.
Okay.
So feel free to start whenever you want. So if you need a few seconds,
Yep, no
go
worries.
ahead. I will be here. I will just not be on.
Okay. Okay, so just quickly, sorry, Jane, the Jennie story to you was the. Oh, actually, I think two of them have been assigned to you. Anyway, let's do it.
Okay.
If you're watching this live on the, there will be no intro music, so just theater of the mind, just pretend that it's there. All right, let's do that. This is the Daily Tech News Show for Monday, July 27th, actually July 28th in Australia, but I am Peter Wells filling in for Merritt, who's out on joining me today. I'm Raj Deut down in Melbourne. How are you, Raj?
Good, thanks, Pete. Good to be here. All Aussie, all the way.
Yeah. It's a bit of a rocky start to the show, but I'm sure we'll power. James Croft up in Brisbane. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thanks, mate. Nice and early, but I'm looking forward to chatting some tech news today. We're in the future.
You sound so tired, you poor little thing. Anyway, let's get straight to the headlines. And VenturePete reports that your Google Plus profile will no longer be your identity in all Google products. The first product to get the change will be YouTube. The move means users will soon be able to use their standard Google account to share content, communicate with contacts, and create a YouTube channel. A public Google Plus profile, your Google account is not searchable or followable. If you signed up for a Google Plus profile and you don't plan to use it, the company says it will offer better options for managing and removing your public profile. The changes will be rolling out across other Google products in the coming months. Thank God for that, James.
Yes, indeed.
Sorry, Raj?
That's all right. The Wall Street Journal reports that the Apple Watch will be sold at Best Buy stores. Apple says the smartwatch will be available for sale at more than 100 Best Buy stores in the US and will expand to more than 300 outlets for the holiday shopping season. Best Buy stores will carry Apple Watch Sport and Apple Watch, as well as a wide range of straps and other accessories. It will not carry Apple Watch Edition, the gold case model whose price starts at just over $10K. Apple Watch is now available in 19 countries and will be available in Russia, Turkey, and New Zealand this week. Sorry, Kiwis, didn't realise you guys didn't have it already. That's sad.
In other news, Razer has confirmed that it's acquired Ouya's software assets, including its content catalog and online retail platform. According to VentureBeat, Ouya CEO Julie Ullman has left, and Razer purchased Ouya for a mere $10 million. Razer has plans to add Ouya's digital platform assets and content to its product offerings, and eventually relaunch the store as Cortex for Android TV for its not that popular Forge TV game console. There are no plans to retain Ouya hardware at this stage. So a sad end.
That's like five Apple Watches they bought that for.
It's like a bit of a scale purchase there. For an Android phone owner, be warned. According to Ars Technica, 950 million Android devices are susceptible to hacks that can execute malicious code via SMS or by visiting malicious websites. Joshua Drake, VP of Platform at security firm Zimperium, says the vulnerability resides in the stage fright Android code library used for media processing. Drake is set to demonstrate the 6 techniques at the Black Hat Security Conference. Isn't that a fine conference that will be coming up next month? The same vulnerabilities also affect Firefox, and Firefox OS. Firefox have patched the flaw in version 38. All versions of Android 2.2 and after are affected. A few of the devices have been patched, including Google's own Nexus 5 and 6 handsets, which is kind of terrifying. I guess I've got a HTC One I better lock down.
Yeah, that's scary. Deut has a rather stunning update on Google's ongoing legal battle with the Mississippi State Attorney General Jim Hood. Quick background: the U.S. Motion Pictures Association of America running a campaign to discredit Google as an enabler of copyright infringement and content piracy. And now Google wants to know just how much the MPAA was involved with the Mississippi investigation. Obviously, the MPAA and the Hollywood studios are resisting Google's subpoena attempts, but Google's legal team has unearthed an email between the MPAA and two of Jim Hood's top lawyers in the Mississippi Attorney General's office, discussing the big plan to hurt Google, including influencing other states. The plan also calls for paying for fake anti-Google research and developing plans to place an editorial in the Wall Street Journal, as well as helping to craft an ad on the Today Show, not the one with Lisa Wilkins in Australia. No one will get that. It's worth reading the entire email except when you get a chance. But how are people still using email to make their secret plan to fight Google? This is the dumbest thing ever. They read your email.
Well, I'm sure they weren't using Gmail for this particular thing, but yeah, it is kind of House of Cards terrifying. Anyway, VentureBeat reports. Sorry, there's a bit of lag here, but VentureBeat reports that Samsung has unveiled the SE370 monitor, which the company claims is the first monitor with an integrated wireless charging function for mobile devices. Now, I didn't check how to say this, but I believe it's the Qi wireless charging system that Samsung are using. Samsung didn't provide timing for the pricing of the SE 370. Sorry, my Google Docs has gone all over the place. We are having a great morning. But it did provide an actual monitor specs, which include an eye saver mode that reduces the blue light on a viewer's eyes and associated eye-specific environmental settings.
That's nice. It's kind of like a flux built into your monitor.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Awesome. A couple of quick updates to some stories that Tom covered on DTNS last week. Forbes reports that Windows 10's policy of automatic updates has run into its first major problem, which is a flaw that involves NVIDIA graphics cards. Some users are writing into NVIDIA's forums to say that Windows Update is automatically installing new drivers, which break multi-monitor setups, SLI, dual card configurations, and can even stop PCs booting entirely, which pushes Windows 10 into its emergency recovery mode. The fault lies in a conflict between Windows Update and NVIDIA's own driver and the software management tool, the NVIDIA GeForce Experience. Forbes suggests several options, including waiting for the slow ring of once-a-month updates. That GeForce Experience, it's so awesome. Never not problematic.
Well, you don't normally expect it to your PC, but that's quite interesting. Computer World reports that Chrysler mailed 1.4 million USB drives to fix a software hole that allowed hackers to wirelessly break into some vehicles and electronically control vital functions. Security researchers Charlie Miller and Chris Velasic collaborated with Wired magazine to demonstrate how they could remotely hack in and control entertainment systems and more vital functions of a 2015 Jeep Cherokee. Miller and Velasic shared their cybersecurity work with Chrysler.
Remember last week when Google released a study saying removing full-screen interstitial ads was totally a good thing, and why would anyone complain? Well, Recode reports that the mobile app Yelp feels a little bit differently. Yelp CEO Jeremy Stoppelman tweeted, "Google says stop pushing app downloads, yet its own teams push apps using the same bad designs." The search monopoly. Drama. The concern is that Google may be trying to replicate its web search position with apps, leaving less room for other companies. Yelp and Google are rivals in the restaurant search space. Google owns Zagat, and Ooh, that is one of the most complicated sentences I've read in my life. Yeah.
That's a tough one. Yelp being as popular as it is in the States, it's yeah, I guess one of those things where we don't get quite as much Yelp in our feed, but it's interesting times in that space. And for Android users who are wondering when they too might be able to lose hours of sleep and productivity, there's some good news for you guys. Engadget reports that popular game Fallout Shelter is coming to Android smartphones August 13. So you too will be able to create those Fallout shelters, and then if you're anything like me, they'll shortly be overtaken by radioactive roaches, and the whole thing will fall apart for you. That was my 2-day experience with this game. I opened it and built up a bunch of rooms, and then I came back and everything was roaches. All is roaches.
I didn't even try. Moving on to news from you. And DJ shared this Wired piece about website blocking password managers. The author Joseph Cox argues that many websites don't pasting in of passwords but managers out of a misplaced sense of security. PayPal, one of the ones that does this, makes the argument that disabling the functionality is proven to fight some forms of malware. We regret any inconvenience this may cause. However, the safety and security of our customers is our top priority. But Cox's argument is accounts weren't broken into by repetitive copy and pasting. One hacker told Wired that disabling paste on a web page does nothing to stop him from using automated tools to speedily gain access to users' accounts. What is more worrying is that when password managers are blocked by websites, a user might be more likely to just enter in a garbage, previously memorized password they've been using somewhere else. It's 2015. Should stop blocking password managers, and I totally agree with that. Thankfully, my bank doesn't do it, but there's a couple of sites I use every day that does block the pasting of LastPass, and it drives me absolutely insane.
In other news from you, here's a news article from Griffin, which is talking about Elon Musk. Stephen Hawking and Noam Chomsky are warning of impending robot wars fueled by AI. So, some of the brightest minds of our generation have warned that weapons could automatically select and engage targets without human intervention, and they could become, quote, the Kalashnikovs of tomorrow, fueling war, terrorism, and global instability. So, yeah, I thought robots were friendly, but they're going to become the Kalashnikovs of tomorrow. Maybe I'll throw my rubber out.
That's all the Pixar, the propaganda that Pixar spread to you.
Or maybe I could fight those robots by strapping a Kalashnikov to my existing Roomba.
The fight back starts today.
That's right.
Should we just move to Jennie would like us to call your attention company article. Nice job of describing the huge contribution Reddit moderators make to their respective subreddits. So thanks everyone in the DTNS subreddit for making it one of the decent subreddits on that giant website out there. Well, look, we're going to move on to the discussion story, and here's the thing. If you put a microphone in front of 3 Australian geeks, eventually they're going to start talking about how hard it is to watch the TV that they want to watch in Australia. This has been a big story on our little website called Reckoner. Not written by any of us, but a lovely man called Graham penned a story about just how long most Australians have to wait for the TV shows they want to watch. And James, there were a couple of really interesting points I took from Graham's story. Especially, what I found really fascinating was just how many shows don't even have date about when they're coming to Australia.
Yeah, I totally agree. Out of, I think it was something like 45% of the shows that were surveyed, and these were shows that are on Metacritic as some of the most critically acclaimed shows of the last 12 months. 45% of those shows have no air date for either online or TV. And that includes some shows like Last Man on Earth, season 2 of *Halt and Catch Fire*, American Crime, Ballers. So it's turned into a real kind of, we've had in the last 12 months quite a few online services launch here in Australia for watching, stream TV. Like Netflix has launched in the last 12 months, and there's been some local rivals to that as well in Stan, which is our charmingly named Aussie version. It's improved things incrementally, but we're still finding there's a massive amount of TV shows that, we'll see out there in the web, people talking about, there's a lot of buzz, and then you go to take a look at it, and it's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, Raj, I mean, this is obviously something that, we've complained about for a very long time, and I do think that Stan and Netflix together have helped somewhat. We've seen about Netflix is it produces its own content, so of course things like BoJack Horseman and things like Orange is the New Black appear day and date as they do in America. And to Stan's credit, they've done the same thing to Community and a couple of other shows like that. But overall, it still feels like the network TV out there, and I guess Foxtel, our only cable provider, are still pretty slow.
I think Netflix was. It's a great boon that we finally got it, and we get all of the fantastic shows. They've had a lot of really good ones this year: Bloodline, Sense8, Daredevil, etc. But what I think a lot of people expected Netflix was something that it wasn't here in Australia. They kind of thought that all these shows that you hear about that are playing over in America, well, they're all on Netflix, but they're kind of when the DVD release is, generally anyway. So I think a lot of Australia was, a lot of your general Australians were kind of confused about what Netflix was offering, and were expecting a lot more than what you're actually going to get. Even in the US, you don't get those types of things. It's up to the individual networks to stream them, and they're slowly cottoning on over there as well. We've seen HBO go, with the product HBO Go. I believe AMC have come out with one, and other networks are doing similar things. But here in Australia, we still have our standard free-to-air channels. We don't really have big pay TV or cable network channels that are big enough. Then the buy that our have is quite minimal, and a lot of these shows that are really popular over in the US, they either don't have the audience for us here in Australia, so it's not a generic enough topic or show. Something like Mr. Robot, which is just a phenomenal series, and I'm really enjoying it, has got absolutely no release date here for TV or online, and is mentioned in this report, because it probably doesn't have the reach here in Australia. Our audience doesn't have the numbers to warrant a media buy by those guys.
Yeah, and it's really frustrating for me. Something like The Americans, which is a series I absolutely love, that when it ended season 1 on a cliffhanger, and there has never been any talk of when they would screen season 2. Now, Americans is already up to season 3, I believe, but there's no sign that season 2 is even going to come to Australia. Now, James, I know you were actually paying for HBO Go. Can you imagine that, good listeners in America, that James has gone to the trouble of setting up a VPN to pretend that he lives in America just so he can watch and then pay for HBO Go? How did that experience go for you, James?
Yeah, it's a bit of a complicated picture because, firstly you've got to have a DNS or a VPN that lets you pretend that your internet traffic is coming from the US. That's the first step. And then the second step is that you have to actually buy US iTunes credit as well. So I had to jump onto eBay and pick up a handful of US iTunes cards, and then apply that credit to a US account, and then plug that into the Apple TV, and so on and so forth. So it does work, and I've been using that for, I would say, 2 or 3 months now, and I used that to watch Game of Thrones as it was airing, and now using that to watch True Detective and John Oliver's show and a handful of other things as well. But yeah, it's a lot of hoops to jump through. And add to that, I am continually getting friendly reminders from HBO about, hey, are you really in the US? Are you actually there?
Isn't that amazing that you're getting shakedown letters from a company that you're paying? Isn't that incredible?
It is pretty crazy. You know, I think at some point, it's hard to tell whether they're actually going to crack down on people doing these kind of shenanigans with DNS redirectors or VPNs through the US. A lot of companies kind of talk big in this area, but they've never actually clamped down on it. But remains to be seen. I suppose I'll find out when suddenly the service just stops working at some point.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I think you're a better man than me because I haven't bothered to jump through those hoops. The final hurdle there of buying US iTunes credit to purchase HBO Go was just too much for me, so I turned away. But I think what makes this really interesting for an American audience or for audiences outside of us is we're seeing a lot of people in America cord cutting. And Australia is kind of a nation of cord nevers. We never really embraced cable television. It's never really been able to kind of grab a proper foothold in this country. I think the lesson here is that if content providers in America don't treat those cord cutters well, then they can really teach some bad habits because.
I'm sorry, were we talking about my country?
Oh yeah, we are, Jen.
Oh hi!
Long time no talk. How you doing?
Long time no talk. I just heard you talking about my country, and since I was going to join this part of the discussion, but then I don't even want to talk about it, I thought I would just jump in and say, I think you guys are doing a great job appreciating our global internet culture.
Thank you. Well, Jenny, I've got to ask you. Imagine this: you've got a HBO Go app. First of all, it starts sending you angry emails saying that it doesn't like the fact that you're paying for the service. But beyond that, the HBO Go app decides that people in California can no longer watch Game of Thrones for whatever reason. How long do you think you'll be able to handle kind of seeing all of the articles, all the spoilerific articles about, oh my God, Red Wedding and things like that, and seeing the big billboards of the dragons before you break and work out a way to tunnel in?
I think California would basically fall into the sea the next day if you couldn't get Game of Thrones. Like, let's be real. And this is the general point that I think we were all going to arrive at, is that there is no more regional culture. Like, there is no more, okay, fine, we get it in California, and we all talk about it, and then everybody in the United States gets it, and we all talk about it, and then, oh, yeah, it's fine if 2 months later it comes to you guys in Australia. The Internet has decimated regional, like, spoiler-free experiences. That's just our reality. And so I don't see why we can't all just go day and date tomorrow for new content, like, content that is not pre-existing written contracts from the 80s where there's some weird day and date problem. But, like, can we all please just get all the TV all at the same time? That's my basic bottom line take on it.
I think the reason, if I would guess, because we've seen that in Hollywood, the movie studios have figured this out. When a Hollywood studio wants a movie to make $100 million, it goes day and date across the world. We see that with Furious 7 and the Marvel movies, Jurassic World, all of that. Everything like that comes date. So they've figured it out, but I think the difference there is it's cinema goers themselves who are buying tickets to see those movies. Whereas in TV, it's generally the network accounts. It's the networks that are buying the television to then show to audience. So there's that middleman there, and that's the relationship that's slowing everything down. That's my guess, Jenny. What would you say?
Yeah, and Big Jim in the chat room brought up the concept of geofencing, which is really the proper term for it, is from a TV and from a licensing perspective. But The one thing, Roger Chang very helpfully ginned up a list of, because when you want to know why something's not possible, you should definitely ask Roger. And he gave us 5 reasons why regional delays still exist. 1, movie timing in the holidays. 2, TV timing in the holidays. Spreading out promotional commitments, which actually to me is a really great reason, because when you have something launch across the world, you can't have Chris Pratt in every country at once. And so there's this whole Hollywood system designed to accommodate that, and I get that. I didn't quite get what he meant by the cancellation crisis, but I imagine that it's why have licensing deals for things that are just going to get canceled in like 13 episodes. And then, of course, the real reason number 5, who sells the ads? And, you know, again, if you really think about it, it really does all come down to the money and who has the right to sell ads in different regional parts of the world. And so of all of those, that's probably the reason why it can't just be opened up, because there are historical licensing agreements between, you know, HBO and whoever's reselling that in Australia and all the other things around the world. And so to me, that's it. But if I ever get my Game of Thrones when I wanted it, I think there would be a revolt.
Yeah, and that those 5 points are true, but I do think that, yeah, for instance, the Chris Pratt thing, being able to fly around the world, that is, I mean, apart from Japan and France maybe are the 2 movie countries that have a vibrant enough local kind of cinema culture that they can delay their showings a little bit. But generally speaking, Chris Pratt flew around the world in about a week to launch in every single major market. So, yeah, movies definitely have figured it out, and I do think Roger's right that it comes back down that advertising, because that's the big difference between the TV networks and cinemas. Cinemas don't need to rely so much on who's selling ads in between the movies. So, yeah. The other thing I was just going to say is that, you know, it's actually, I think a lot of people in Australia, the one reason we continue to rule the world when it comes to piracy, which is a sad fact, but it is true, is it's actually pretty easy to pirate these days. And when you can do teach people that piracy is actually more convenient than legitimate means, that's pretty bad, because you know, you can never compete with piracy on price, but you can compete on convenience. You know, Spotify and audio have shown that. So I do worry that the TV networks out there are throwing out their biggest kind of trump card, which is convenience. Jenny?
Yeah, I would agree, and I just think that I would be happy to organize a one-time summit of all the major players and just put them in a room and not let them out until they figured out how to make money all together. So we really could be a global pop culture, and who knows what magical stuff would come from that. So AdCon 2017 coming to some very big country near you, and
hosted by Jennie.
Yeah, let it be known that it started here. Hey, Peter, you want to give us the pick of the day, since I just assigned it to you?
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Let me just scroll down the Google Doc for a second there. Pick of the day is Flycut. It's available on the Mac App Store. It's from the lovely Matt Jenkins, or he's the person who recommended it. It's an OS X clipboard manager that is super simple to use, and now Matt can't live without it. It keeps past number of items. He has it set to 20, so you can cut and copy and paste in a stack. So you can paste any item back from the stack. I used to use something like this. I don't think it was Flycut, but it was incredibly handy for when you find yourself kind of copy-pasting around and you forget how far back the copy was. Anyway, he says it's brilliant. Check it out. It's from, once again, that pick was from Matt Jenkins. Send your picks to feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com, and you can find Tom's picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks.
We had a message of the day, but I just dumped it because we're running a little bit long and the post show is going to be a bit of a nightmare. So sorry about that, Raj. I actually just wanted to thank Peter Wells, Raj Deut, and James Croft personally, because my system had an epic driver meltdown and they couldn't hear me and I couldn't hear them. And at some point I got on the phone with Roger and just said, they're just going to have to do the show, and do the show they did. So thank you so much for the team from Reckoner. And I just wanted them to get the opportunity, in fact, Peter to get the opportunity to tell us a little bit about something he did for the Sydney Morning Herald.
Oh yeah. So there is an article that popped up yesterday from the Sydney Morning Herald that is just my love letter to podcasting, and also to Tom Merritt and the Daily Tech News Show. My wife read it yesterday actually and said it was so cute that I started as a listener of Buzz Out Loud and ended up being a guest on the Daily Tech News Show. So thank you, Tom, if you're listening to this. But it's just a really simple little love letter to podcasting. But yes, I also want to thank James. Thank you, James, for being on the show, getting up so early.
Oh, my pleasure. It was great to be here. Thanks for having me.
And where can and Raj, thank you too. Where can everybody find each one of you on the Twitters?
Well, we're all smart enough to get our proper usernames back in the day. Although I think Raj probably didn't have to fight too much for Raj Deut. So yeah, just search around on the Twitters and you'll be able to find us. So James Croft, Peter Wells, and Raj Deut.
Excellent. And special thanks to all of our DTNS patrons, all 5,030 of you. Hopefully there won't be 5,000 less after this audio driver deal, but I just wanted to let you know that our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Call us at 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. And listen to the show live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern at player.alphageekradio.com, and visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Tomorrow's guest will be your producers, Jennie Josephson, after a long conference with somebody who can fix her audio drivers, Roger Chang, Ellie Willing, and Darren Kitchen. So stay tuned for that. And thank you all very much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. This is the part where we play the music in post. Hi, guys. How you doing?
Hey, Jenny.
Good.
If anyone had any doubts, now we're in the post show. And I will say that you guys did a great show, even though I could only hear part of it, and I was literally banging my head against any solid object that there was until I figured it out. And I thought we would just look at some titles here. We've got MPAA, Mississippi Propaganda Attorney Agency, from Big Jim, which is fantastic, if maybe a little bit libelous.
Is it libel or slander? Slander's
it's one or the other. I mean, hey. We've got ICUs. I think I really like this one, which is Can't We All Just Watch Along?
That's lovely. Yeah, I like that.
I mean, that's just almost
good.
poetry, ICU. We have DTNA Aussie. Ouya is not a greeting from Australia.
Oh, yeah.
3 Australians and a baby podcast, which is pretty much what it was today, thanks to all my issues. But I actually honestly think that that Can't We All Just Watch Along, there really couldn't be a better title than that.
Yeah,
I think that's good.
I like that.
Isn't that lovely?
That sounds great.
You guys did a fantastic job. I'm so sorry for all the problems. Holy camole. Whew.
All good. All good.
Not at all. Normally we're used to having technical dramas with, but it's more related to bandwidth and crappy internet connections.
Yeah, I noticed that every once in a while, and Roger and I were noticing, like every once in a while on the YouTube feed, one of you guys would just go away while you were talking, and I'm going to blame that on the Australian internet, really.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that it's going to be just fine, because it would only be very brief, and then it would pop back in. Yeah, so I think it was great. And James, it's really nice to meet you. I'm sorry I didn't actually get to say hi beforehand.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, it's great to meet you too.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's such a pleasure, and I was listening the whole time, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm so glad I finally, my brain just slowed down enough to be like, oh yeah, it was a really simple problem. Do you guys want to know what it was?
Yeah,
Go
sure.
on.
It wasn't plugged in.
No, so it's a stupid problem that I knew the last time I did this show live, which is I have 2 Focusrite Focusrite digital audio interfaces, and one of them works for taping in my office, really well, but does not work well with Google Hangouts. And I forgot that, and I had already unplugged the other one and put it away because I was going to travel with it for Nerdtacular. So it's really Scott Johnson's fault, if you really want to know. So once I just sat there with like no way to communicate with everybody and like really thought it through, I realized, oh yeah, it's just the driver does not work on the bigger Focusrite. And so I plugged the other one in and it was fine. Yeah.
Bummer.
The show must go on.
And it did. And it did. Now, do you all have to get to work? Is that your whole deal?
I took a sickie.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Because you're all going to go right back to sleep after.
Damn it, Pete. I have to get on a bus.
Oh, man. Well, if anyone has to go, please feel free to drop off because this is just the time where we, quote, edit. Although, frankly, there's no editing today because I'm just going to pull the audio from YouTube because I'm not sure what my system got. But
it was a good show overall. I mean,
yeah,
outside of the technical issues at the top, which I think kind of left a little fluster at the beginning, but you guys picked it up and ran with it really well.
Yeah, it was really great. It was really great, and
Good job, Pete.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Pete.
And I'm
I do apologize for you going out.
My joy is going to be reading that Daily Tech News Show article in the Sydney Morning Herald. I promised myself that the moment I was done with all of this, that was going to be my reward, was to read it.
Fair enough. Well, hopefully it lives up to that. I don't think it will, but it's a very short thing. But yeah, enjoy.
All right.
There's some good picks for like Aussie comedy podcasts in there if you're looking for something new to listen to.
I'm always into the Aussie comedy podcasts because I think there aren't enough comedy podcasts out there in the world. So I'm going to stop this because I actually have to pull the audio from this video, and I can't do that just yet. But thank you so much for everything. It was a huge help. It was a huge help.
No problem.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jennie.
Get some rest if you can.
Thanks, Roger.
Take care, guys.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it. All right, have a great day, guys.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
See ya. Bye now.